I'd just like to give you a bit of background regarding formulas for the exam. That's really going to be our topic of discussion today, formulas for the PMP exam. Welcome back. We're talking about Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is cost management. And this is where we've got lots of formulas that freak people out. There's nothing to be freaked out about. This is really pure common sense, to be honest, regarding earned value management and TCPI and stuff like that. It's common sense. Let's very quickly walk through a problem here. In the world of earned value management, we can think about it as the value of what you accomplish on the project in terms of the budget that you originally set for that work. So earned value management, when you really think about it, helps you quantify where you are, how much you've spent, if it makes sense to have spent that much, and how well you're doing cost-wise and how well you're doing schedule-wise. So think about it like this. Earned value, EV, is the budgeted cost of work that you have performed. Hold on to that thought. BCWP. It's the budgeted cost of work performed. The reason why it has to be budgeted is if you performed work but spent more than you budgeted, you're not doing well. However, sometimes people try to sweep it under the carpet and make excuses for spending that much. In the world of earned value, you cannot do that. It's bad performance if you spent more than what you budgeted for a particular piece of work within a particular time period. Planned value is the budgeted cost of work scheduled. If I scheduled work for a particular time period, I need to be aware of how much that work was budgeted for. Actual cost is the actual cost of work performed. So hold on to that thought. We're going to work on a problem here. Let's consider a project in which we were meant to clear 4 lots. On day 1, we clear the first quadrant. On day 2, the second. On day 3, the third quadrant. And on the 4th day, we get done with the 4th quadrant. Say management asked you, well, this lot is full of munitions, it's full of explosives, contaminated stuff from previous world. You need to clear it up. How much are you going to value this work at? How much are you budgeting it for? You could say, all right, well, the first quadrant, we're going to spend 10 million. It has some really horrible munitions we need to clean up. We need a whole crew of professionals. They're going to work 24 hours. We're going to have so many people. It's across a very wide area. The same thing for day 2, 10 million. Same thing for day 3 and day 4. So management asks you, are you saying that in 4 days you're going to get done with this lot? You say, yes, we're going to get done exactly as planned. That first quadrant is going to be worth 10 million. In other words, if we can pull off this planned work for day 1, it means that the value of the work complete is going to be 10 million. And it has to be within 1 day. That's really what you're saying. Same for day 2, day 3, and day 4. So that's the idea in this problem. That 10 million is a budget target. That is really what we refer to as our budgeted cost of work scheduled. It's budgeted and scheduled for 1 day. It's budgeted at 10 million and scheduled for 1 day. This is what we're targeting. Okay? So let's say we actually start work on the project on day 1 and we accomplish all of this work on the first day. This simply means that our plan value we already knew was 10 million. We accomplished all the work. EV is 10 million because we got everything done, all the shaded area. The next question would be, how much did you spend on getting that work done? Let's say it was a perfect day. Our actual cost was 10 million. Management gives you the thumbs up and says, well done. Now we can actually apply earned value metrics to find out how well we did. To do that, we need to be aware that earned value is king. We need to be aware of our formulas. So let's take a quick look at our formulas for these derivative metrics of earned value: SPI, CPI, CV, and SV. The bottom line is earned value is king. I like showing people a visual like this, and I say this is earned value, and earned value is the personality and has a toothy grin and likes being put first. Welcome back to this very quick review of the PMBOK Guide 5th edition. Right now we're in Cost Management, page 238 and table 11. We're looking at what cost management is. It's all about managing cost on the project, from building up the budget, understanding what the different activities will cost, rolling that up into a total, and then controlling that budget. Our first process is plan cost management. You already know all the inputs and tools and techniques here. Plan cost management is aimed at developing the cost management plan. Similar to plan schedule management, the inputs are exactly the same, the tools and techniques exactly the same. Also, it has a very close similarity with plan scope management and plan risk management. In fact, the inputs are exactly the same in plan risk management, with the exception of the stakeholder register, which is an added input in plan risk management. But let's talk about plan cost management inputs. Project management plan, project charter, EEFs and OPAs. The tools and techniques, we've talked about them all: expert judgment, analytical techniques, and meetings. Our major output is the cost management plan, which is our roadmap for how cost will be managed on the project, how you will estimate the activities, determine the budget, and control cost. Let's move to our next process, estimate cost. Estimate cost is about estimating how much each activity will cost on the project. Our inputs are the cost management plan, talked about previously, the human resource management plan, which is a plan for how resources will be acquired, developed, and managed, the scope baseline, which contains your WBS dictionary, and your project scope statement, the project schedule, talked about previously, which is a project schedule used to track the project, which is dynamic, which is updated. The risk register, which we talked about before, it's a register of all of your ranked risks. You do need to estimate how much it will cost to manage risks in that risk register. If there's going to be certain risk responses that require additional budget outside of the normal, you need to factor that into your activities, and then ultimately those will become part of your final budget. And we've got EEFs and OPAs. Let's take a look at our tools and techniques. Expert judgment, analogous estimating, talked about previously. Parametric estimating, talked about previously. Remember, it looks for a relationship between project variables of different projects, such as size of the project, for example. I'd just like to give you a bit of background regarding formulas for the exam. That's really going to be our topic of discussion today, formulas for the PMP exam. When you think of formulas for the PMP exam, what comes to mind? If you went for a solid 35 contact hour course, you probably start thinking about project selection methods, right? Project selection methods has so much stuff underneath it, but we can cover these extremely quickly. First of all, you think about things like your net present value, NPV, and under that you need to be aware of future value and present value. Future value considers the time value of money concept. Simply stated, if you have $5 million today, it can do more than $5 million in the future. So the big question to ask is, if $5 million is being promised at the end of 5 years, today I need to factor in what I really can do with $5 million down the road as opposed to today. You might want to factor that in when you're bidding or when you're thinking of projects to work on. If you're thinking about a return of 5 million 5 years down the road, it's not the same as what $5 million can do today. $5 million can do more. So the formula to get our bearing straight, to ask us what is the present value of $5 million today versus $5 million promised in the future, we would need to apply a formula to get this. So the formula for present value, PV, is future value, which is the $5 million 5 years in the future, divided by 1 plus the interest rate, which is given to you in the question. They won't ask you to calculate that, to the power of n, where in this case our n would be 5 years. In this case, we could say, for this example, that 5 million divided by 1 plus, let's say, a 10% interest rate, which would be 0.1 to the power of 5. And that would give us whatever, 5 million divided by 1.1 to the 5th power. Whatever that is, that would be your present value. So $5 million promised 5 years down the road today is really equal to this based on a 10% interest rate. Like I said, on the exam, this may come out, but from my experience, there's a very, very, very narrow chance of it coming out. You don't typically get questions that focus on this, especially since it's not in the PMBOK guide. But could you get questions? Yes.